Welcome. Good morning, everyone. I am Julia Morsher, the music director here at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas. Our beloved community of faith, reason, and affection welcomes all to grow in mind and spirit as together we build a better world. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome and invite you to fill out our online visitor card so you can receive more information about Emerson and our activities. Again, welcome to all. If you've been with us online for a while, things may look very different to you this morning, as we're now live streaming to YouTube, and we're all learning together. Following the worship service, we'll have social time on Zoom, a chance for you to gather in smaller groups to discuss the service, what's going on in your lives. We'll give that link at the end of today's service, and it's also in today's e-blast if you just want to click it when the time comes.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Michelle LaGrave, the interim minister of Emerson Unitarian Universalist Church in Houston, Texas, and I welcome you all here to our service this morning, which is about exploring our core values, including caring. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, wherever you find yourself on your life's journey, whichever your pronouns, whether you've walked in or rolled in or dialed in, whomever you love, you are welcome here.
It's not by chance that you arrived here today. You have been looking for something larger than yourself. Inside of you, there is a yearning, a calling, a hope for more, a desire for a place of belonging and caring. Through your struggles, someone nurtured you into being, instilling a belief in a shared purpose, a common yet precious resource that belongs to all of us when we share. And so, you began seeking a beloved community, a people that does not put fences around love, a community that holds its arms open to possibilities of love, a heart home to nourish your soul and share your gifts. Welcome home. Welcome to worship.
Please join me in this morning's chalice lighting. Every day brings struggle. Every day brings joy. Brings joy. Every day brings us the opportunity to ease the struggle of another, to be the joy in another's life. May this flame remind us to carry our light to each other and to the world. Let us join now together in singing our opening hymn, number 1021, Lean on Me.
Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Please swallow your pride if I have things you need to borrow, for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show. Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. If there is a load you have to bear that you can't carry, I'm right up the road and I'll share your load. If you just call me, lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'd understand. We all need somebody to lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Since you're all here or watching this on live stream, I'm guessing you're familiar with the concept that Unitarianism historically rejected the Trinity in terms of the nature of God. This morning, though, I would like to introduce to you a new Trinity, the Trinity of Caring.
Everyone here at Emerson wants a successful reopening with as few setbacks as possible. Ironically, even though we are Unitarians, as Michelle just said, the best way forward is a belief in a Trinity, although a very different kind of Trinity. The first and most important member of this Trinity is vaccination. Now, I know most of us are very tired of hearing about vaccines, the clash of information and misinformation, the sometimes bellicose attitudes out there, and the increasing resentments and divisions in our society over this issue. But without widespread vaccination, near universal where possible, the decline of the pandemic and decreased likelihood of new surges is not possible, at least in the next year or two. And now, vaccination is not simply a personal decision. It affects others, including the well-being of a civilization. Much has been said and written about mandates, but common sense and our professed values of respect for others and the interdependent web of all existence dictate the necessity of getting vaccinated, except in a very few medical situations. At Emerson, we're not going to require vaccinations or check for proof at the door. However, we do expect everyone who qualifies for and can safely be vaccinated to receive that vaccination before attending in-person functions at this church. Now, this is simply showing concerns for and respecting the health of fellow Emersonians and their family. Now, some have been concerned about side effects from the vaccination. My wife, Linda, has reported this one side effect after each of her vaccinations: a big smile.
Good morning. I'm Janet Meininger, and I'm the second member of this Trinity who's going to talk about masks, and that we will require masks for everyone when they attend Emerson in person. First of all, how do masks work and why do we wear them? They filter out the air that you breathe out and the air that you breathe in. Masks limit the circulation of the virus among us by trapping the droplets and airborne particles that contain the virus, and we expel these droplets and particles when we sing, cough, sneeze, etc. Also when we talk. The virus, we have to remember, spreads through in these airborne particles, and they can be spread from people who, of course, have symptoms of the virus, but also from those who don't have symptoms, those who are called asymptomatic, because people can be infected with the COVID virus without ever knowing that they have it. And also, it can be spread from those who are, of course, unvaccinated, because they're much more likely to have acquired an infection out in the community. And also, though, among the vaccinated. Again, because sometimes there are breakthrough infections among the vaccinated, and still we have to protect others from what we may expel, even though we're vaccinated. Now, I'm going to have first slide up here that illustrates some of the masks that are effective or not so effective. The most important things about an effective mask, one is that they fit well. And this means no gaps around the nose, chin, or the sides. Some of the soft masks may have a wire at the top that you can use to mold it around your nose for a good fit. Some masks, all masks, have either ear loops or straps or bands that go around the back of your head. And these are very important, and again, they help to protect the side of the face by a tight fit on the side. Some masks have adjustable ear loops so that you can shorten them so it tightens up on the sides. If they don't have an adjustment possible with a little ring, you can also, if it's too big and it gaps at the side, you can also tie a little knot in the ear loop at the right place for you so that the mask fits closely on the sides. And another important part of the mask fitting correctly is that it fully covers the nose and mouth. So this usually means it's up high on the nose, fairly high on the nose, and also the best way to assure a fit at the bottom is that it goes down below your chin. Another important feature of masks that are effective is that they have multiple layers. A single layer on a mask is just not effective. So you want multiple layers, at least 2 layers of breathable fabric or material. Now, there are non-medical disposable masks, the kind we will have out in the front when we enter Emerson if someone happens to forget their own, and these are quite effective. Sometimes these are called surgical masks. They're the light blue mesh ones. Also effective are tightly woven cloth masks with 2 or more layers. Some cloth masks have a pocket in between 2 layers that allow for insertion of a 3rd layer as a filter or another piece of cloth for added protection. There are also the so-called KN95 masks, which are also very good. These are the fitted KN95 masks are those that are used by healthcare personnel, but those are individually fitted to the size of the person's face. So they do have a good fit. Sometimes if you try one of those on, the particular model may be too big and it may gap, so that would not be a good fit for you in particular. Now there are some masks that are not effective at all. In fact, it has been shown that gaiters, those sort of neck bands that can be pulled up over your mouth, are absolutely no better than wearing a mask, no mask at all. And in fact, in one study done by Duke University, the use of a gaiter actually increased the dispersion of small particles because it seemed to work to make them even smaller than they were when they started and go further once they were expelled from the mask. So avoid use of gaiters, and bandanas have also been shown to be less effective than other ways of masking. The other kind of mask to avoid is the one with a built-in ventilation valve. Now, if it's really a professional version of the vented mask, it would prevent air from going out as well as air from coming in. The ones that are commonly available to us that have that little place in them to let your breath out are not effective at all. The primary purpose of masking to prevent COVID is to keep your breath from being expelled out with the little particles that might contain the virus. And so the part about caring and protecting others means keeping your breath from being shared with others. So those that have a ventilation on the side are just not effective and should be avoided. Another type to avoid are any kind of knitted mask or something that has bigger holes than a tightly woven cloth. Now, just a word about masks for your children. It's most important to choose a mask that is comfortable for your child to wear and is the right size to fit snugly and stay in place. Masks are not recommended for those under 2 because they may not be able to put it on or remove it without help, or remove it quickly if that's necessary. Now, going on to the next slide, it talks about how to wear a mask so it stays effective. With a well-fitting mask, with the conditions that I just explained, the air you breathe in and breathe out will pass through the mask instead of around it. Okay. Now, there's different types of masks. Some are rectangular that go straight across under your eyes, but they usually have some kind of a wire to mold it to fit closely across your nose. Others have more of a curved design that are shaped to go under each eye in a small curve, but have a rise up the middle over the nose. This can also provide a good fit. Now, you may realize already after wearing masks and for various lengths of time, that a well-fitting mask may begin to feel a little damp inside after wearing it for a while. But it's important to know that this will not cause carbon monoxide CO2, carbon dioxide, to build up inside of your mask. CO2 particles are very much smaller than the respiratory droplets and small particles that carry the COVID virus. So you can breathe freely through. You should be able to breathe freely through even a tightly woven fabric that is fitted closely to your face. Okay, now we can take the slides off, and I'll show you just a couple examples before we close. This is the surgical mask that I mentioned. This has that wire at the top that you can fit it closely over your nose and the ear loops, which you could tie a little knot in if it happens to be too big for you along the sides. A common one, type of mask, is the kind that also has the fitted wire across the top, but is pleated, so you can adjust it to your face, set it up high on the nose, and bring it down under your chin, and then around your ears. And this particular one has those little loops that you can move up and down to make the ear loops bigger or smaller. And then here is one of these KN95 style masks, which again has the place at the top to mold over the nose and should provide a good fit if it's fitting well on all sides. Now, I also brought the examples of the ones we want to avoid. This is an example of the kind of gaiter These are used originally, I think, for runners to use. This wasn't designed for COVID. It's just to keep your face warm with a breathable something over it, but it's not designed to prevent the spread of viruses. Okay, so avoid those. And also avoid using any kind of a bandana or this kind of scarf, because there's usually really no way to really get a good fit that way either. Now, the other thing you want to think about is that unless you actually wear the mask appropriately and it fits well, it's not really doing anyone any good. And you'll see various styles going around. Some people might think about, they raise it up over their head and they've got, it makes a good headband, but doesn't protect anyone. Likewise, good eye mask, but not for protection. And the popular one is the mustache and beard effect, where people wear it below their nose and under their chin. Or certainly not a safe way to do it. So watch out for the slipping mask that goes below the nose. It's not safe at all. And of course, you'd also don't want to wear it as a chin warmer or as an earring. You see some people wearing it as an earring. This doesn't work either. Okay. So that's it for masks, and Bonnie is up next with social distancing. I'll be 6 feet away in a second. I keep dropping my mask. Okey doke.
Good morning. Someone much smarter than myself once said, walk softly and carry a big stick. So I thought I would sort of rely on that to show how much 6 feet really is. It's a lot longer than even I sometimes remember. I always sort of think, sewing, I use, my arm from my nose to think, oh, that's a yard, so like maybe 2 arm lengths away is going to be good enough. And it's pretty good as a judge. But again, social distancing is very, very important. Those droplets that might escape from the nose where the mask is worn incorrectly, 6 feet is going to help you stay away from those infectious particles. There's many times where 6 feet isn't observed by others. You can do the best you can by trying to step back away from the people. And it's amazing when I have been out and about, when I do that, I show 6 feet reverence to someone else, people go, oh, yeah, and they step back as well. We are asking everybody here to try and maintain social distancing. That's hard. I'm a hugger, and as people who know me know how I love to hug, and just giving an air hug, just doesn't quite cut it for me. But, it's better than nothing. Seeing people live and in person 6 feet apart is so much better than Zoom. I can't tell you how much joy I've experienced today by being 6 feet apart from people I have missed seeing and being a part of my life. So, next week, as we come together while we're in the sanctuary, please maintain all 3 of the Trinity. Those of you, we are expecting that those who are here will be vaccinated, although we're going to trust your word of honor. We are expecting everyone to wear a mask and to wear it correctly. And we are expecting, while we are in the sanctuary, to maintain 6 feet apart. We have plenty of space in this sanctuary, so please maintain your social distancing. Now, once we get outside and do social coffee hour, we're out in an environment where air can circulate easier. Please at least maintain 2 out of the 3, maintain that social distancing, maintain that mask wearing, because we don't know, we will not know if everyone is vaccinated. So, to all you all out there, I bow. I look forward to seeing you.
Giving out of what is our own is a transformative act. As a community of faith, we collect an offering, not for ourselves or our congregation, but to give to others as a collective action of our community and as a way to live out our shared values. Please give with a generous heart to support the October Share the Plate recipients. This month, 75% of the offering goes to the Houston Area Women's Center. The Houston Area Women's Center provides safety and comprehensive life-saving services to survivors of domestic and sexual violence, empowering individuals, families, and communities to transform trauma, achieve independence, and stop abuse before it happens. The Houston Area Women's Center believes in a future defined by safe relationships and caring families when entire communities thrive free from violence. And as always, 25% of our offering will go to Interfaith Ministries Meals on Wheels, feeding Houston's seniors. We have 3 ways to give. You can text the number on the screen, go to our webpage for online giving, or mail a check to the church.
Please find a comfortable place to be or in your seats. Place your feet flat on the floor if you can and if you will, so that you might feel grounded, more connected to the earth which nourishes and sustains us all. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, and take a deep breath in. As together we enter into a time of meditation, followed by silence. If another strains to breathe, may our voices be the gentle rise and fall. If another chokes on tears, may our voices be an opening to hope. If another has forgotten, may our voices be a memory upwelling. If another is adrift, may our voices be the calling of community. Now, let us enter into the silence together. Amen, and blessed be.
Once upon a time, a thief snuck into the room of a sleeping Buddhist monk. As the burglar rummaged about, the monk awoke. The startled thief ran into the snowy streets, with the monk racing after him. "Please stop!" the monk called, and the man finally did, realizing that his pursuer was no threat. "You'll need this," the monk gasped, handing the thief his own coat. "What do you mean?" the man asked. "I saw that you dashed from my room into the cold without so much as a winter wrap, and I realized that I had both a woolen blanket and a coat." Having heard this implausible tale of sainthood years ago, I forgot the details but remembered the essential events. Ordinary people can't be morally compelled to make such extraordinary sacrifices. But for whatever reason, perhaps the sheer absurdity of such unconditional altruism, this parable stuck with me. It rattled around in my skeptical mind until the day my wife played the role of the Buddhist monk. Nan and I headed into the mountains for a day of skiing with our children, who were 4 and 6 at the time. In the chaos of packing up that morning, we'd forgotten our daughter's mittens. The wind was whipping and Mercury hovered in the teens, so no mittens meant no skiing. But for Nan, the solution was as obvious as it was simple. She always wore 2 pairs of socks. So she removed the outer layer and pulled them over Aaron's hands. Problem solved. We headed down the trail. I found her approach rather clever, the sort of practical, motherly thinking that often eludes my analytical mind, but hardly heroic. However, the bitter cold and the woolen warmth evoked the parable of the monk's coat. Among the snow-hushed pines, I remembered how the dialogue ended. "I don't understand," the man said. "It's simple. You have nothing at all to keep you warm," the monk answered. "But you are a fool to give away your coat, leaving you only with a blanket," the man replied, reaching for the garment. "If I had 2 gloves on one hand and none on the other, would I be a fool to put one of them on my bare hand?" the monk asked. The man said nothing, took the coat, and hurried down the street. When we are not alienated, when love draws us into the suffering of others, when we see our happiness entwined in their well-being, then generosity is neither foolish nor heroic. It is the simplest and most obvious choice.
I've learned to slam on the brake before I even turn the key, before I make the mistake, before I leave with the worst of me. Give them no reason to stare, no stepping up if you slip away. So I've got nothing to share, no, I've got nothing to say. Step out of the sun if you keep getting burned. Step out of the sun because you've learned, On the outside, always looking in, will I ever be more than I've always been? Cause I'm tapping on the glass, waving through the window. I try to speak, but nobody can hear, so I wait around for an answer to appear while I'm watching people pass, waving through the window. Can anybody see? Does anybody waving? When I'm falling in the forest, but there's nobody around, do you ever really crash or even make a sound? When you're falling in the forest and there's nobody while I'm watching people pass, waving through a window. Can anybody see? Is anybody waving back at me? Is anybody waving, waving, waving?
There's a Rob Tobias song called "The Tree of Life." The words go like this: breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Etz Chaim, tree of life. What the tree breathes out, I breathe in. What I breathe out, the tree breathes in. You probably realize that the tree of life makes an appearance in the book of Genesis, the Hebrew Scriptures, the Christian Old Testament. It appears in other world religions as well. But the tree of life I'm talking about, and Rob Tobias is talking about, is the Jewish one. It can also refer symbolically to the Torah, which are what we know as the first 5 books of the Old Testament, or a synagogue itself. The other allusion in this song that isn't quite drawn out completely obviously is to that of science. What the tree breathes out, I breathe in. What I breathe out, the tree breathes in. What we're talking about is humans expelling carbon dioxide, trees absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, and humans breathing in oxygen. What I love about this song is the way that the two are so beautifully intertwined. Science and religion, religion and science. One does not exist without the other. Science expands our religious understanding of life itself. In Unitarian Universalism, we understand this as part of the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. We are all connected. We are not just connected to the trees, we are connected to each other, to other humans, to all of life. So this morning's service is about exploring one of this faith community's core values, that is caring. Caring refers to acts of caring themselves, but even more so to the feelings behind those acts. We act in caring ways because we care. This community, after all, is a community of faith, reason, and affection. We feel affectionate towards one another. We feel warmly towards one another. We care for each other. We love each other. Last spring, the transition team gathered all of us together in 2 sessions to discern the core values of this congregation. You told stories about everyday acts that someone in the congregation did that you admired or that touched you in some way. I heard even more of them last night. From this, you discerned your core values. I think that in this exercise, caring might have been the easiest value for you to recognize and name. You can tell me if that's true or not, but that was my impression. There are so many times I have heard stories about the ways that you care for each other or experienced the ways that you care for each other. You have a lay pastoral ministry team who reaches out to those who need extra support on a regular basis. You have a caring group that organizes meal trains and in non-pandemic time hosts receptions after memorial services. Members have a special way of saying goodbye to other members who are leaving the congregation, who are moving away, and we will do that next week. You send notes and cards to each other. I have been the recipient of some of those notes and cards, which I have loved. You have offered care not just in ordinary times, but also in extraordinary times. You've offered shelter, cleaning up and repairing damage during and after a hurricane. You've come together after the death of a minister and after deaths of beloved members of the congregation. So it is clear to me, it is so clear to me, that you know who you have been as a congregation in terms of your value of caring. There is something called a Charter for Compassion. Its impetus came from a TED Talk with Karen Armstrong, followed up by some work through the Dalai Lama, and finally a charter that organizations and individuals can sign on. Houston is a compassionate city, and this actually is Compassion Week. And there are some things in this week's e-blast that you can check out if you're interested in participating in any of those. What really stuck with me out of their materials, though, was this one line where they talked about experiencing values as skills. Values as skills. They're not just things we believe. They're ways that we act. And we have to practice them, just like we practice any other skill. So my question for you now, for this morning, is, you know who you are, who you've been in terms of a caring congregation, and the world has changed and is continuing to change. So now who are you becoming? Who are you in the process of becoming? How will you care for yourselves and each other in the next hours, in the next days, the next weeks and months? What does implementing the skill of caring look like as we begin to return to church and in the near future? We heard some about that this morning with our new Trinity of Caring, with vaccinations, masking, and distancing. There are other ways, other skills that we will have to put in place. Other vaccines are important too, like flu, and not spreading anything else that could make COVID even more serious than it already is. We have questions, lots of questions. So much of church is about breathing together. That's Chaim. With the tree of life, we breathe in and we breathe out. We have meditations where we breathe deeply in order to center ourselves. How now will we breathe together? How will we sing together? One of the skills, the new practices we'll have to implement, at least for a while, is refraining from singing. We might whisper along with the words of the hymns once we're in person. We might dance in the aisles. in our own spaces, of course, but we can dance. We can hum very, very quietly. We can snap our fingers. We can express joy in new ways. We need to learn how to show we care in new ways. In the past, you've given hugs, pats on the shoulder. You've shaken hands. You've shouted for joy. You've sung together, all ways to express your caring for each other. But now things are different. They're going to be different for a while. I know there is some loss there and some grief, and I acknowledge its presence. And that's not what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on the joy of caring for each other. We have the opportunity to be back together in person soon. The board has decided to reopen the church in phases. So we are going to go one piece at a time and be sure that we do each piece well. Next Sunday, the 24th, we begin by adding in-person worship to our live stream. So people will have a choice depending on their comfort level. If you feel like you still need to stay at home, that is totally fine, and we will find new ways to include you through live stream and continuing our social hour on Zoom so that you can connect with each other and use the chat on YouTube. And we'll also have people in person with us here, with vaccinated and masked and distanced. It'll be challenging. We'll make mistakes, but we'll learn. This community of faith, reason, and affection has promised to grow together, to learn together. And we are learning, aren't we? And while I'm at it, I want to say a huge thank you to our reopening task force, also known as the new Trinity of Caring, Bonnie, Mike, and Janet, who are here with us this morning. They have taken on an enormous responsibility of care for this congregation and looking out for all of us and making sure we could be together as safely as possible. So we have some work to do to figure out who we are becoming and how we are going to show our caring for each other over the coming days and weeks and months. But we also have to think about how do we show our caring outside of the congregation. It's not all about what happens in here, right? Our values don't just stay at home. And those things are beginning again too. Rebuilding Houston is this month. Share the Plate has continued throughout the pandemic, in which you give away all of the offering you collect every Sunday. I just recently attended a meeting about from Interfaith Ministries about the new refugees from Afghanistan who are moving to Houston, and there is some work in process in which Emerson will be helping to form a team to help some refugee families. And there are many other ways as well. The important thing is to remember that values are not just beliefs. They are not just things we say or talk about, but they are skills we implement. And they include new skills that we must identify, learn, and practice. So yes, for those of you who were here for the affect theology sermon, this goes right back to affect theology. We sense the world around us. We feel the world upon us. We think about the world we have been experiencing, and we act. And when we put all four of those things together in alignment, we feel more whole and less broken. You are and have been a caring community, and I have no doubt no doubt that you will continue in this new way. Things will look and feel a little different, but you will continue to care here at home in your congregation as well as out there in a world that needs acts of caring as much as it ever has. We breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe out, we breathe in. Etz Chaim. We are the tree of life for each other. Life exists or falters in the very air we breathe together. And we, like the cherubim who guard the Garden of Eden with its tree of life, must care for and guard each other in new ways so that we may protect life itself, our own lives and the lives of all others. May this congregation be a tree of life. Ha'etz Chaim. May they and we, you and I, be so blessed evermore. Amen, and blessed be. I would like to close our service this morning with a blessing. It takes all sorts of caring to create a supportive community. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. We think of the comfort we find in another person's presence. Pastoral care team members and small group ministry leaders who listen when we are in pain, and musicians who send music out into our homes. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. We think of our material needs, a meal that arrives on our doorstep, a ride to an appointment, other help in hard times. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. We think of the symbolic reminders of this community, homemade chalice candles and thinking of you cards. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. We think of the network behind it all, the religious education leaders and board members and staff, those who care for the buildings and grounds and those who shepherd new members joining the congregation, and so many, many more. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. Finally, we think of those of you who are not official lay leaders, but who have called your fellow congregant to check in on them, who have listened with an open heart, who have lent a helping hand to another member or friend in need. We give thanks for those who provide this care and offer them our blessing. For all of the ways that we care for one another, we give thanks and offer our blessing. Amen, and blessed be. Now let us sing or hum or whisper together our closing hymn, Ubi Caritas.
Ubi caritas
Go now out into the world with all your loving and your caring, spreading compassion and kindness everywhere you go, blessing all others as you yourselves are blessed. Amen, and blessed be.
Today's announcements begin with Pat Smith's testimonial from the Stewardship Drive.
I love my experience in the Emerson Sanctuary. I love listening to the piano music. I love singing along with the choir. I love the chalice lighting by different members. I love seeing congregants light candles for joys and concerns. I love the special services, such as for solstice. I look forward to experiencing all of these again when services resume in the Emerson Sanctuary that I love.
Good morning. I'm Carol Trout, a volunteer with Emerson's Membership Committee, and it is my great pleasure to announce that we have hired a membership coordinator to help us welcome guests and new members into our community. They will begin this work in December, but sent a message of introduction for me to share with you today. Here is that message. Our new membership coordinator goes by two names, Austin Kelly Mitchell and Audrey Gale Hall. You can use Austin or Audrey interchangeably, or use the pronouns they, them, theirs, or she, her, hers. They are also very open to nicknames. Audrey is a senior at the University of Houston, studying Hebrew Bible and queer theology, and graduating with honors in May 2022. She hopes to spend her life ministering in the LGBT community as an ordained Unitarian Universalist minister. Currently, though, they are content being a cat mom. Audrey comes from Southern evangelicals and country folk and is descended from early English colonists. Her faith practice is informed by Celtic paganism, Christian mysticism, and the spiritual practices of the the transgender communities. Above all else, Audrey wants you to know how excited they are to get to know our congregation. Look out for more from them soon. I look forward to introducing them to each of us in the months ahead.
Thank you, Carol. After today's postlude, we will be going into Zoom social time. Today's postlude is Carried Me With You from the movie Onward by Brandi Carlile.